What is up, guys? It is Robert of Gaming with Me, and I noticed something. I noticed something, man, that people do all the time when it comes to games and how they kind of perceive them, give the reception, especially years down the road, sometimes only a few months, if I'm being honest. But have you ever noticed that when a really good game, it's normally like a really good game or something that gets higher praise, people talk about it like it's the greatest thing ever, right? And sometimes for some people it is. And I'm not saying this is a large majority of people, but you could definitely tell more often. You see in comment sections or tweets and replies, you see this type of stuff more often. That the first day it comes out, oh, this is amazing, it's the greatest thing ever, it's one of the best, it's the best in the series, oh, it's so damn good. And then, honestly, it could be like a few months down the road, maybe a few years down the road, you hear, man, I don't know, this is bad about it, this is bad about it. Most overrated game in the franchise. This is not even bad. This is not even good. It's really bad. It sucks. This is the worst. This is trash. Worst part of the franchise. Horrible. And then years down the road, I'm talking years, like maybe like 5-10 years, when people start to get nostalgic off of it, it's like, man, that was the greatest thing ever. That is literally the best thing ever. Blah blah. Oh, fucking best part of the franchise. Goddamn masterpiece. This new one that maybe 10 years later isn't as good as that one right before that. And I don't understand, man. It happens all the damn time. It's like the hype cycle of a game's life, essentially. Maybe some people truly do feel that way, but it happens with so many games, especially bigger games. Like I'll mention for instance, Breath of the Wild, right? Breath of the Wild was always the greatest game of all time, which I feel like it is one of the greatest games of all time. And then all of a sudden, if you go into tweets of like opinions of Zelda games, which are always the worst, those are the worst tweets ever, where it says, opinions on Zelda games that'll make someone mad or something. Like, why do you gotta start the negativity, right? It's just negativity everywhere, and everyone just wants to hate on some game. Like, I'm gonna stand out by hating on some games to just trigger people. And you go on there and it says, Breath of the Wild is overrated trash. Breath of the Wild is one of the worst games of all time. Breath of the Wild is easy, not even a Zelda game. It's not even a good Zelda game. It's horrible. It's just like, what the fuck? Why do you do that? Like, well, Jesus, like, first of all, just calling, I don't know. To me, it's like, something is the worst. Something is really bad, is overrated, is not even a critique, man. You're giving your opinion, but it's like, I personally can't. Like, your opinion just drowns out with everybody. If you want to actually say an opinion, say an opinion. Say something that actually has some minor detail. If you're writing a tweet, just write a few sentences on what you don't care about, But there's a lot of times people just put, just overrated trash. It's just bad. It's like, all right, you know what? Come on, man. And the opposite can happen with games that are actually maybe perceived as bad. There's a lot of times where you'll have some bad game, and then years down the road, people are like, man, it was very hated on. It's actually great. It's a damn masterpiece. And then you'll get essentially a little cult following that love that game, and that's how that cult classics essentially get spawned. A lot of people start, the originally comes out. Maybe it's not perceived very well. Maybe it gets a lower rating or something. And then maybe lower sales. And then people start like, no, this is a gem. This is actually fantastic. And this and that. Oh, and it always happens where it's just years down the road. That's what's funny. It's kind of like years down the road is what really, truly sets the tone of what people think about a game. And it's not really the day one. Because the day one normally is very cut and dry. It's either fantastic or it's trash. If you notice. For some reason. No one really has any in between. It's just kind of, I really enjoy this game, or, dude, this game blows. There's no real in between. It's already happened with something like Animal Crossing New Horizons. I absolutely adore that game. I've put over 420 hours. Well, hey, 420 hours. And people out here talking about, lack of content. And then those same people have hundreds of hours in the game. I'm sorry, but you can't have hundreds of hours in a game and say there's a lack of content. Perhaps it's okay. Like, it is genuinely okay to prefer New Leaf and City Folk in a GameCube, Wild World, whatever you want. But to call out lack of content is something that you spent hundreds of hours on is not a lack of content. And especially when 1 year ago, people were like, oh, this is the best Animal Crossing, this is the best. And there's still, I mean, majority, I think if you go with majority, I think majority is going to say New Horizons is the best. But like if you go by there's always that small percentage of people that come in and just change the whole story. It makes it sound like the whole story is different. Oh, this is bad, overrated, trash. And then if I bet you, next Animal Crossing comes out, those same people will say New Horizons was so much better. It happens all the time, man, and especially in the day and age of social media, you hear that a lot for so many games. So many damn games. I bet you The Last of Us Part 2, it's truly shitted on by a lot of people. I bet you in a few years, all you're going to hear is positivity. Because it could be, what it could be is that it weeds out, years later, people that are very negative on the game start to weed out because, well, they moved on. And that could be that. It could be that it was very positive heavy, and then it becomes a little bit more negative because people start to see how popular it is. They hate on popular things and overrated, worst thing in the franchise to ever happen. It's horrible. Everything's going to be worse after this. And then after that, years later, it weeds out all the negativity, and then you just have the people that were positive on it. Could be that, to be fair. And it might be that any of those gaming tweets that always have those very negative comments saying, what's a gaming opinion that will put you like this? And it's always like that. I think it's Frozen. Or no, was it Frozen? I don't think it's Frozen. It's Rapunzel, I think. I don't fucking know. The one where like the guy has a bunch of swords to his face, and it's a whole sword, a whole lot of swords, and he's just standing there. And it's always negative opinions, man. It's always negative opinions. And a lot of times it is about recent games. It's about games that came out recently because they're like, no. That is actually overrated, and they just list a bunch of stuff without giving any detail, and it just comes out as shallow opinions, and it just comes out as opinions that I just can't. I just gotta wipe away. I'm not asking you to make a 20-minute video and script out the whole thing. Like, yeah, I get it. You're not gonna review the game. I get it, but like 3 words on it. Can't take you seriously, can I? Like, what does that mean? Like, I think another reason why you see this type of hype cycle happen is because people rush their opinions and their feelings just way too quick, man. They play it for one day and they're like, it is the greatest thing ever. Holy crap, it's amazing. But you didn't play the whole game even. You don't even know everything else. Maybe you're only 20% in, 30% in, even halfway in. There's things that's going to happen, 50% later on down the road that you may not like. And so it's like, relax about calling things the literal greatest and saying it's the best in this and it might be the best in this one, and I get it. I've done the same thing. I've totally done the same thing, but majority of times when I call something the greatest, it's because I usually beat it already. I remember when I did finish Mario Odyssey, I was like, yeah, this might be the best game ever. And I do think it's up there. Like, I do personally think it's up there because it is crazy good, but I probably did say a little bit too early that I do prefer Galaxy 2, but that's just your feelings, right? That's your hype that sets in. And so when a lot of people get their hype set in and they just say things so quick, and they don't really let it settle down and sizzle on the grill, of your mind, of your thoughts. And unfortunately, that makes for some temporary opinions. And you kind of got to let it sizzle. And then, so years down the road, or a few months down the road, or sometimes even a few weeks down the road, you don't have to be like, no, this is trash. This is the worst thing ever. It is the worst in the series. Like, a lot of times that isn't the case, even for bad games. Sometimes it isn't even really the case. Now, like, the worst game ever, it's just, you just have very strong feelings on it, and that's fine. But your feelings are going to change a few months down the road. So, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure this existed, 20 years ago, but Twitter and YouTube and all these social media platforms gave the platform of hatred, of negativity, of just this calendar timeline of game, either positivity or negativity. Like I said, some games, you'll have a very negative reception, and then you'll have a very positive reception, like years down the road. And, people are giving that voice now, and it's cool and it's great for it. But I think people also have to relax, let it sizzle, and really then you could talk about your game, you know. Because again, I do the same thing. I'm not gonna say I don't, you know. Whenever I play a game for like the first hour, I'm like, dude, this is so up my alley, this is amazing, you know. But let me relax, let me actually, you know, play more of the game before before I say that. But yeah, I thought that'd be a little interesting thing to talk about, the hype life cycle of a video game. It happens to so many games, not every single one, of course. Usually it's the grander ones, the bigger ones, the ones that get the very high scores, you know. But it happens. It definitely happens. Sometimes it's always some of the lower scores, and it's the other way around, very negative to the positive. And I think it really comes down to the fact that when it goes to, you know, positive to negative to positive, I think it weeds out the negativity, and years down the road, it's people that are only going to really talk about it are going to be the positive ones, right? So I think that's really what it is. But it is an interesting little thing that I personally see all the time on tweets and stuff. And I'm just like, man, what about 3 months ago when you were calling it the greatest thing ever? And maybe it wasn't that specific person, but it does happen where some people just don't really quite wait, and they just spew out opinions. They're like, yes. And I think we have to let it sizzle. That's the moral of the video. Let your thoughts sizzle a bit. Just a bit. I'm not saying years. I'm just saying just a bit. Maybe just finish the game, I guess. And then see what you think, you know. Because a lot of times, The Last of Us Part 2, people didn't love the other side with Abby's stuff. So, you know, you had to let it sizzle. I mean, I still enjoyed it, but, you know, it is what it is. But, yeah, alright, I'll see you guys next time. What do you guys think? You guys ever fall into the hype cycle of a video game? You know, you're loving it, then you can't stand it, and then you love it again years down the road when you become nostalgic? I don't know. Let me know. So, I'll see you guys next time. And for me, personally, like, I already talked about it before, I'm not a nostalgic person in the slightest. I don't really care about nostalgia at all, you know, so it doesn't really affect me in any way. And so when I have an opinion of a game, it only changes if I replay it and kind of rethink it years down the road. But yeah, guys, kind of like, hey, I did the same thing kind of Spider-Man, you know, I thought it was great, fantastic, all the stuff, and I replayed it and I'm like, nah, you know, and I kind of started shitting on it. But again, you know, it's probably because I didn't let it sizzle, man. I didn't let it sizzle. I gotta let things sizzle. I wasn't shitting on it. I thought it's an okay game, but it, you know, gotta let it sizzle. Alright, guys, I'll see you guys next time. Let me know any games that kind of happened for you. You really enjoyed it, then you started falling off of it, and then maybe years down the road you're like, you know what, nah, it is a good game. Anything like that for you ever happen? Or you guys see the trend, you know what I'm saying, where you have this huge praise and kind of this huge hate, and then praise again. It's interesting. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time. Have a good one. And it could be just a pool of negative people. Could just be that too. But alright, peace out.
I had to write this fucking song for you, to thank you for everything you did, done, and will do. From the simple shit like picking me up the many times I watched The Last Jedi, to help on my body like getting rid of my pink eye. Without you, to be honest, I'd probably be blind, or even be dead. Cause many times it feels like you're the only one who understands the way I see things. You made me